think from what we could gather, no Matthew Cruiser.
What, you didn't see that through the window?
I couldn't see, no.
So when you have closed sessions, the media are allowed to peep?
Oh, well, we know.
I'd love to know, because if you are, what's fine, but if you're not, why do it? So what's the rule? What are the rules generally?
No cameras, aren't they? Is that the rule? No cameras?
I don't know. I'm asking you, Blaze. Don't you set the rules? So what are the rules on that? Just so I know. If we have a closed session, generally, I mean, it's not having a shot at you. I just want to know what the rules are. So it may be part of your brief, fly anyone over and do anything you like. And if that's the case, that's fine. I just need to know. What's the brief generally?
It's a public cafe, people can come in off the street.
Yeah.
So we're just looking out the window. I would have thought.
Yeah.
Other than trying to peep through a boarded off window or
Yeah.
fence.
But what is the rule though? So what do you guys adhere to? What sort of rules do you adhere to, if any, in this case? I'm quite well. Look, it doesn't worry me at all. I always want to know just what. If I join the ranks of the media again, I always like to know, am I allowed to peep? Am I allowed to take cameras in? I mean, I've done this at West Coast and they're flying a camera over, flying a helicopter over, so that's the way it is. I don't care, as long as we know where we sit.
That's what I'm saying, my understanding with no cameras, we do it before the cameras go out, just to get an idea, that's all.
Right, so that's the rules. That's what you live by, that's what you live by. Is that what you live by?
I don't know if I live by, I'm just saying that's what I thought the understanding was.
Okay.
Can we go back to start? Because it's a closed session, did Matthew Cruiser train at all?
Trained, thank you, Bruce, for bringing some sanity to it. Because, he trained every player on the list of 34 that are still remaining on the list of 34. That doesn't mean don't jump up and think we're moving 10 players on. There's players like Watson and Carazzo who don't come into that group because they're injured. 34 players trained in some capacity today, and Matthew is part of that, as are other players who, in a 6-day break, need to be managed. I'm extremely hopeful and am I positive? I'm not positive about anyone really, because that's just the nature of the game, as we saw with Brock McLean last week. He will be. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't play. Put it that way. Yeah, his disappointment was that he wasn't able to play the last VFL game, and that was only by a whisker. So he's been officially back, say, 3 weeks, and trained very well. Look, it'd be a real punt if someone pulls out like Warnock or Cruiser or Henderson or Wade or any of the talls. It'd be a real punt for us to take him in. But he's got natural football nous in terms of his recovery and also his endurance. So he's an option, but a very distant option. You're probably better off asking the players, but they all feel as if what they've given back to me is that they've backed themselves to be better prepared and equipped to play against good sides in finals and know that they're not out of the game. We preach here, or I have ever since I've coached, is that the two sirens that matter most of all is the first one to start the game and the last one. And you're not dead until the last one sounds, but too often in finals football, there is a no tomorrow syndrome that sits in at some stage during the match to go, well, you can't explain it, but it's almost like it's all too hard now. We're not saving percentage. There's no next week. It's almost like we fall away. Good finals are when you're within 2 or 3 goals and you just keep at each other right to the death, and that's what happened on the weekend. Do I get a lot out of the Sydney and Hawthorn match? See, I think psychologically, Hawthorn, once they had built up that lead, Sydney would probably, in their own minds, think it's a long way back, conserve energy for next week. So I don't know whether that was a 50-point loss in reality, not taking anything away from Hawthorn, but that's the nature of finals, that you can build some confidence out of overrunning a side, which our players have done now over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So yes, we get some confidence in it, but we also are realists to know that finals football is so totally different. No, I never thought that at any stage. I think we've been pretty harsh on his first half. He wasn't the dominant Chris Judd that can be, but he was a contributor. He was no different than probably 10 or 11 other players that were holding their own without being dominant. Then we had 5 or 6 players that we really needed to pick up, and 5 or 6 players were more than holding their own. So I think we get caught up in the third and fourth quarters. I thought our second quarter was okay, albeit that the scoring thing, they got 4 goals from free kicks and a couple of those run discipline. So therefore, you can't take it away from the scoreboard, but you take that out, and our game wasn't too bad. No, I can categorically tell you, and that's been tested by, what do you call them, all those bits and pieces, medical things. No, he certainly hasn't re-injured he hasn't re-injured it, and he hasn't done more damage. It's exactly the way it was pre-match. Look, if Mick has another game like that, we'd be delighted. We just want a competitor there. Would the game have turned out the same way? No, because I don't think, although Brock did kick 2 or 3 goals against them last time, and he was our best player last time. So the game might have panned out differently, in a different fashion. Who's to say? We don't know. We'll never know. But there are certain injuries, I think, that you can juice up. And that's a fact of life, that a lot of players at this end of the season will have the occasional jab in the ankle, in the hand, in the knee, whatever the case is. When it gets down to muscles, different altogether. The risk-taking of muscle injuries is, you've got to be so careful. But a bit of pain out of a joint, unless it's substantial and you can't run or you can't do the things you do best, of course, you've just got to be able to put up with pain. And that doesn't make a heroics of players. Some players can cope with it, some players can't. Does it make them more heroic? I think what it does is it says that you probably find those players have had injuries before, know how to control the pain and get out there and perform at their as well as they can. History will show, and this is where you need a bit of length of time at a football club. You know, some players will put their hand up, but their form suffers. So you're better off, not letting them play. So it does take time to work out who can actually cope with that. Yeah, I am. Champions, you always play champions. Yeah, it is. It is. If you don't enjoy finals, and you hide from finals, you're not the sort of player we're after. And storytelling here today, but I had a young bloke come into a football club and played nearly every game for 2 seasons. And I remember coming into the final series, and we had a night where we just got together, and his comments to me, I said, "Oh, finals football," and he said, "Yeah, it's scary, isn't it?" Well, I thought, whew, that's not the sort of word I want to hear. And he played accordingly, because it was all big stage stuff. So, having played last week on that arena, which is the greatest arena in Australia, let's face it, before 90-odd thousand people, if you can stand up there, then I believe you can stand up anywhere, because that's the test, the big stage. And travelling away, there is, in all my times of coaching sides that travel, there seems to be an added buzz of a collective wanting to work together. So being on the road is not a daunting manner whatsoever. It is, in fact, it's almost the opposite. It actually gels the side. And we've got a good record this year. We've gone 4 from 5. I think it's 4 from 5. And we copped them up there in the Sydney weather, which was 13 mils for the day, which turned out to be 130 mils. They can't quite get things right up in Sydney, right? It's particularly about the weather. When the woman said to me as I was walking down the race, "You brought the Melbourne weather with you." Well, hello, guess what? I think that's why Melbourne's the best city in the world. What was the question? Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We'll approach that one if and when the time arrives. I haven't even, I don't even want to get caught up in even the discussion about anything but Saturday night. Well, it's their home ground, SCG. Are they more vulnerable? Oh, no, it's a very different ground. It's a very different ground, vastly different ground. Now, it's narrow, it's square, it's a rugby ground. There's rugby played on the night before. The grass is generally longer. I hope it's cut to VFL standards. And I only say that because of the fact that it's got to be an attraction. The game's got to be an attractive thing. But it is different. And I don't know how many they play there per year. But I don't know whether they train on it too often. Look, a few of our blokes have never been on it. And I'm not going to train on it. We're just simply going to go out there and we're going to play on it. Well, I think they've been hurt by a few injuries. Some very, very good players aren't playing. But that's almost right through the competition. You know, sides are missing players. This is I don't want to, you know, whatever you're saying here sometimes is misrepresented at Australian level. And I'm talking about rugby union, rugby league. They look at us and go, well, look, you're pussycats compared to how tough our game is. But let me just talk about our game. It is a brutal game. Now, it's brutal in many respects. Outside of the fact that most players will cover between 11 and 15 to 16 Ks. This is the 24th week of it on top of NAB Cup. It's an endurance-based game. It's a speed-based game. And it's going to take its toll. And sides that haven't got great depth generally have to keep playing and playing, and not only that you may not have great depth, you may have to fight every week of the year to win enough games to get near the 8 or in the 8. The luxury of being able to finish in the top 4, if you've got enough wins up, is ease players back, take players away, drop them out and this sort of stuff. So you have a distinct advantage with a long list and winning a lot more games, particularly early in the season. We haven't had that luxury. So, you know, it's a brutal sport, and I think Sydney are in the same category as us, that they've played to finish in the top 4. Now we've played to try to finish in the top 8, but the cost is the same. It means that you're playing players more often than sometimes you want to. You're playing players longer on the ground than you have to, and you've got to win every game. I mean, there hasn't been one game where we've thought, well, we can ease back here and take a few players out and that sort of stuff. Not one game. So it hardens you up, but it has a toll. So, you know, we've just got to get over that. And I think Sydney are in the same bracket. Oh, I can't answer for that. They could pull that on match day. I mean, sometimes I go in with a preconceived idea of who's my sub is and change it on the day, because you just get this feel that maybe the conditions, maybe the opposition, etc. So that's up to the Sydney Swans. It's been terrific. It really has been terrific. He's such a good kid. You know, it's a real credit to him to... He's never been... I've only had him for 12 months, but there's never been an issue with him where he plays. He just wants to be part of the football club. He wants to play senior footy, clearly. But he also understood that when we had Matthew Cruiser in the ruck and, say, Rowe and Casbolt up forward or Waite up forward, there was no room for him. And you know, slowly but surely he's worked his way into the side. And he's had such a profound effect by being in the side that he is technically, you know, one of our better performers over that period. Look, I'd like to answer all those questions, but I think that's the wrong time. You know, we've got this is a semi-final against last year's premiers in Sydney, and we want this game to be what we want to talk about.
Thanks, guys.
All the best.